The only way November, and by November, I think you know what I mean, this fucking election that's been coming on for, I think it's been 32 years we've been leading up to this goddamn election. I want to talk about the only way this will matter, meaning the only way your voice will matter, our votes will matter, and that is if we vote in such amazing numbers that we swamp, defeat everything that is stolen. And I'm going to go through all of the ways, or many of the ways, that this is going to be rigged, will be rigged, can be rigged. They're already working on a lot of them. And I know, like, I'm not telling you who to vote for. As far as I know, I don't think I've ever said this is who to vote for. My goal is to inform people and then to have a legit election to the extent we can. I've been preaching about election reform, election changes for years now, and it's because I would love to have some sort of legit fucking elections. And we don't have that now, and I'm going to go through the ways we don't have that right now. But I think the only way we get closer, an inch closer to that, is for us, the people, to vote in such numbers that we defeat what is stolen, what is rigged, what is tried to be taken from us in so many ways. And this is coming from, you know, both sides of the corporate aisle, both sides of the corporate parties. And I'll get into those ways in a second. Now, some people, you know, because I inform everybody on how fucking rigged the system is, on how flawed it is, on how corrupt these officials are, some people think that the natural next step is, well, just don't vote. Just throw up your hands and walk away. No. And my reasoning behind that is they would love nothing better. They would love nothing better than for you to decide they've won and walk the fuck away and not vote. And yes, people are like, well, if enough people don't vote, it'll delegitimize the election. And it's like, yeah, but that would have to be like 99% of people not voting. And that is never going to happen, okay? So instead, you need to go the reverse way. We have something like 50% of people actually vote in America. In other countries, it's 80 and 90% vote. If we actually had 90% vote, 100% vote, you would have a completely different style of elections where people's voices are heard on a different level. And that should be the goal. That is the only way that this goddamn fucking awful election that's been coming on for fucking years will matter. And as I've tried to remind people again and again, it's not just the presidential election. There is so much else at stake in this upcoming election. There are ballot measures. There are down ballot candidates that are often less rigged, less corrupt, less bought out than the top ballot people, the presidential or the gubernatorial or whatever. And so you can have an influence. Now, your vote is tiny. I'm not going to fucking lie to you. It is a tiny little thing. You should be active in so many other ways. You should get angry in so many other ways. This is just one way, but it's something we should do in such numbers that we fucking destroy what is attempted to be taken from us. And so I want to go through some of these ways, and I'm going to get into the kind of, I don't know about breaking news, but some updates on the propaganda that's being done right now. I have some inside knowledge, I guess you could call it, about upcoming propaganda. At least that's what I believe is happening right now. But let me first go through all of the ways this system, this upcoming election, will be rigged, with the caveat that, yes, you should vote. You should vote. We should vote in such numbers that we fucking win because our voice is actually heard. They can only steal a certain proportion of what is of the number of votes that we throw in there. So of course there's the rigging on the level of they're trying to gut the Postal Service. I've talked before about how the Democrats actually helped gut the Postal Service back in 2006, but now this is a push by the Republicans to make it impossible to actually read or count all the mail-in ballots that come in. But as Greg Palast has made clear, 22% of mail-in ballots get thrown out anyway. So I'm not saying don't mail in your ballot or don't vote. I'm saying you need to vote in such numbers that 22% ends up not fucking mattering. Still, despite that, the voices of the people are heard. So that is one thing to know. Palace recommendation perhaps is to early vote, but do it in person. So a lot of these places, in fact, a lot of them opened today or yesterday, or not a lot of them, but a few states opened today or yesterday. But they're going to be opening in the weeks coming up. And you can go in and just fucking put in your early vote, drop it off, and be done with it, and not have to worry about the 9-hour lines on election day, which are by design. That's another form of suppression, right? You make people wait in line, and a lot of people give the fuck up because who wants to fucking stand there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours to vote? No one. We're not even dying to vote for some of these shitheads to begin with, and then we gotta wait in line. Fuck you. So that's by design. They want you to give up. They want you to go home. They want you not to stand there. So a lot of these places you can drop off your early voting ballot. So money is another way that obviously this election is going to be heavily altered, heavily impacted. The person that spends the most wins 80% of the time in a lot of our elections. The money has just completely swamped our election system, and that is one of the things we need to work on changing because it is completely, in most countries, you cannot spend millions, and now we're into billions of dollars on election campaigns. You can't just run ads 24/7 into people's heads because everyone thinks that we're all smart enough to decide on our own. You know what? I decide on my own. Ads don't influence me. I make my own damn mind. Yeah, no, that's not how it works, unfortunately. Most people are influenced by all of these crappy ads. It works. Advertising works, or else they wouldn't spend billions of dollars on it. Okay? Anything someone's spending billions of dollars on, assume it works. Assume it has an impact. Assume there's a reason. Okay? No one spends billions of dollars on something that doesn't have an impact. So that's step one, is obviously all the money, all the dark money. It's flooding both sides. Okay? This is not just the Democrats, just the Republicans. It's flooding all of the corporate candidates. And obviously, if you have some down ballot people who say they're not taking corporate money, those are some great people. I can't vouch for obviously everything they've done or will do, but I'm just saying those tend to be the ones that are more rational and behaving on a more rational level and a level that is more accountable to the people because that's where they're getting their money from, rather than massive corporate entities that are sucking our souls out through our anuses. Okay, moving on to, with that graphic image, moving on to suppression. Like I already mentioned, they take away polling places. They make you wait in line for hours. And we can see the evidence on this in that the polling, the actual polls as to who's going to vote for who, they're wrong a lot of the time. And one of the reasons is because suppression. People think they're going to vote, and they're not going to get to vote. A lot of people won't get to vote, okay? Last time interstate cross-check was a big thing. In a lot of states, it's been stopped. Some states, I think, still use it. But it's one form of canceling out the votes of mainly black and brown people. But there's a million other ways that votes are suppressed. People are purged. 1 out of every 10 voters have been purged from the rolls. One thing you can do to fight against that is check your registration. There are websites, I think, for every state where you can go and check your check your registration. Your registration is how many spider webs you have in your house. Check your registration. You can go and get re-registered if they purge you from the rolls, and they count on you not doing that. See, this is the other thing. Is people are like, oh, well, they suck, so we shouldn't vote. It's like, they are working so hard to make sure you don't vote. Doesn't that tell you something? Isn't that a hint as to what the ruling elite want? They are working so hard to try to stop you from voting. So don't give in to it. Go check your registration. Google online your state and how to check your registration. It's not that big a deal. By the way, I'm going to take 1 second to plug in this laptop before it dies. I still blame the CIA for the fact that my laptop's dying. It's no doubt. Because CIA will also often come and just grab all my chargers and everything. They somehow they get me to leave chargers in every hotel room. I don't know. There's some sort of thing they have running. But as I said at the beginning of this video, which a lot of you probably didn't see because you joined later, this is how you can tell. This is just me doing this shit. There's no team of people helping me do this. This is legit. This is between me and you guys. At the beginning, I said it was also because you can tell I have a shiny forehead in here, and if I had a team of people working, they would be helping deal with the shiny forehead. I mean, you can't. It's something to do with lighting or I don't know, makeup or something. You'd have to get a team of people in here to fix a shiny forehead. But shiny forehead is a sign that this is real. This is legit. This is fucking keeping it real for the people on the streets because I got a shiny forehead. Okay, so now that I got the laptop plugged in, let's keep moving on to the spreadsheet. Oh, but one of the ways I was saying is if you look at the polls, and they were just saying this on MSNBC, but they left out the redacted part of it. They were saying that the polling last time around in these battleground states was showing that Trump was losing, Hillary was winning, and they went through each of the battleground, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Florida. They go through each of these states, and they're like, as you can see in 2016, Hillary was winning in each of these 7 battleground states. She was winning a week before the election. And whoa, she ended up losing. And it's like, yeah, because those polls are largely garbage because they don't account for how many people think they're going to vote. A lot of people think they're going to vote, and they're going to be given a placebo ballot, which is a provisional ballot. That's another reason that voting early can help you. You don't have to, on the day of the elections, they tend to give out tons of placebo ballots where they say, oh, you're not actually registered, so here's a pretend ballot that you can sign out. And there's even people on the left who are like, angry at me or angry at Greg Palast for saying that provisional ballots don't count. It's like, look, even the provisional ballots that are counted like weeks later. No one's even fucking paying attention at that point. Provisional ballots are garbage. Demand a real ballot. If you do end up going on election day, demand a real ballot. And it depends on how much you want to fight. You may be there for a while trying to demand your real ballot. But often you can win that fight where they owe you a real ballot, not one of this provisional crap shit. Moving on, let's see. Yeah, what I was saying is the polling averages are off because they don't know. They don't account the 538.com and all this mainstream garbage. They don't account for how many people will be purged, have been purged. 1 out of every 10 voters already purged from the rolls right now. And so you can fight that by going and checking your registration online. There's other ways to check it, but yeah, if you really want to get to the bottom of it, you could make sure you're registered because you're entitled to be registered. So then let's move on to other ways this is rigged or will be. They'll try to make your vote not count. Another one is throwing out votes. They do this with a lot of they'll find out reasons in the count. Oh, it's got a little tick mark there. It's throw it out for that reason. Oh, the postage isn't right, or it's this guy. Let's take a black light over it. I see some cum stains. Well, I could throw that ballot out. I'm kidding. No one would be that excited about voting. I guarantee you that's never happened. But anyway, they find tons of reasons to throw out these ballots. So when you fill it out, make sure you're filling it out right. If it says you can't put an X in the bubble, you got to fill out the bubble or whatever the fuck, then do it. Do your best to get these dumb steps right because they are looking for any reason to stop you from voting. And again, on the down ballot stuff, let's say you're voting for a third party candidate. Well, so now you have both corporate parties are trying to throw out your vote because in that down ballot stuff or whatever, or not even down ballot, I don't care. Like I said, I'm not telling you to vote for. I want you to be informed and I want you to vote and then I want you to get active outside of voting. Those are the 3 steps. So but if you think about that, if you're voting for a third party, then both corporate parties, which run the election systems in these states, have all the more reason to try and throw out your ballot. So they will look for any reason they can to throw it out. They will. So do not wipe your ass with it and then turn it in. I know it's tempting. I know it's super fucking tempting. But don't do that. That's don't write your name in wingdings and hope they translate it. There's a million reasons to throw out your ballot, and of course that'll throw out everything you voted for, all the ballot issues. Let's say there's a ballot issue to legalize marijuana, and you really cared about that, but you hated everything else on that ballot, so you decided to write, fuck you in big letters, and then vote for marijuana, legalizing marijuana. Well, they're going to throw out that whole ballot, so your vote's not counting in any manner. Of course, there's rigged and flawed machines. I've gone through that a lot. You can see in the audit process that they're often not functioning correctly. That's a long-term change. That doesn't mean that some of you are going to have to vote on machines. It doesn't mean don't vote. It means that often these machines, if they are somehow rigged, are rigged in a percentage basis. A certain fraction of votes are being taken off. And if that is the case, and I don't know how many areas that's the case. It may be a tiny number. But if that's the case, you could still beat that by, again, swamping what they're trying to steal, what they're trying to rig. Did I mention money? Money's another way the system's rigged. Yes, I did mention money. So I'd also like to say money. They're going to try and rig it with money. And so now I get to something I want to talk more about, which is the propaganda that's coming out of both sides. Now, you have Trump's endless lying. We all know about that. That's not a big surprise. I think even Trump supporters know that he lies on a fucking daily basis. I mean, it's of course. And then you have Biden's lies, right? The fact that he's done anything about climate change during his entire career. If you can go watch videos of Joe Biden bragging that he wrote the Patriot Act, the completely unconstitutional act, which allows for surveillance, unlimited surveillance of American citizens. Trump, of course, how much has he said about unlimited surveillance of American citizens? He fucking loves it because it means he can suppress his enemies. So both of them love that. Anyway, I don't need to go down. I talk about that in every video, so I don't need to go down that whole list. But my point is that you've got propaganda coming out of these things. But the other propaganda that they're now working on, that they're now setting up, is this vote was hacked propaganda. Now, you have Trump saying it's going to be hacked by China because he thinks that's a winning concept for him, right? If Biden were to win by a tiny percentage, he could say China did it. And he can also refute the Democrat propaganda, which is going to be Russia's doing it, right? And they've already started this garbage idea that, the 4 Facebook ads from 2016 is why Hillary lost, right? Yeah, she didn't have any other problems. It was just those 4 Facebook ads. And so, but they're building this up again, the Russia McCarthyism, all this crap. Of course, this will not just be in the large scale, with the anonymous intelligence officials say that, Putin was pulling the lever on all the voting machines or whatever. You're going to hear that crap. It's already starting up. We can already see it on our televisions. On a daily basis, they're trying to recreate the McCarthyism that they've been doing. They were pushing it more a year ago. Now it's faded a little bit, this McCarthyist. Oh, he's a red. He's a Soviet. Even though the Soviet Union no longer exists, people still seem to think it does because Americans are not very well informed. So they're already starting that, and here's something that happened to me that I'm assuming is coming down the pike. So I do these videos for you, Moment of Clarity, right? One of the things they do to prove Russia is trying to manipulate these elections is they point to me or some other show on RT America, and they say, well, this opinion said by this person, by Jesse Ventura, the former governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, said this thing on his show, and that means Russia is trying to influence the election. Now, I've said a million times, most of you know this. If you don't, you haven't been paying attention, that I've never been told to say anything. I've never been told not to say anything. I've never been censored, and I write all my own stuff. Everything I say to you comes only and purely from me, and that's my promise to you. No one has ever even recommended I angle something in a way that was not my own. So if they say, oh, look, Redacted Tonight said something, which proves Russia wants something, it's horseshit. It's utter garbage. And they did that recently on Mediaite. I made fun of that in another Moment of Clarity, where they literally took one of my comedy headlines from Redacted Tonight about Joe Biden, and they said, this proves Russia is trying to convince people Joe Biden is not mentally acute, is not mentally doing that well, and I made fun of it for 5 minutes because it's such utter garbage. I wrote a joke, and so therefore that proves Russia wants something. complete dumpster fire journalism. But so the latest thing is that I got contacted by Bloomberg News, an email saying they want to talk to me. A journalist at Bloomberg News wants to talk to me about something I said in a Moment of Clarity video on the Redacted Tonight YouTube channel. Now, they didn't say which video. They didn't say what they want to talk about. Now, I'm not going to do the interview because I know how those interviews work. I've done some of them before. Basically, if they find one sentence, I could talk to them for an hour. If they find one sentence that helps support what they say, what their thesis is, like let's say their thesis is Russia's trying to defeat Biden in the election. And I talk to them for an hour, and within that hour, I say Trump is garbage and Biden is garbage. They would take just the half of the sentence where I said Biden's garbage, and that would be their quote from me. And they would use that to prove that Russia is trying to sink Biden's candidacy or whatever. So I know how those interviews work. So it would be ridiculous for me to do them. It's complete fraud. But so all I responded was, what video does this entail? They haven't answered yet. But so they'll do one or two things now once they find out they're not getting an interview. Either they'll say that you know, Lee Camp refused the interview, acting like I somehow, you know, was scared and I ran away or whatever. Or they'll not mention that they reached out to me. Or they'll say they never heard back, or what NPR did, because NPR did a hit piece on me it was like 2 years ago, and they asked for an interview several times, and I said, absolutely, I would love to do an interview live on your show. As long as it's live, I'm there. I'm there with bells on. I'm there with a little fucking bow tie, little bow in my hair. I'll get makeup and eyeshadow. I'll be fucking on your goddamn show live, right with you, weekend edition. Let's do this shit. And they kept saying, oh, we can't give you as much time if it's live. And they kept doing this, equivocating. And then ultimately they just gave up because they realized I was only going to do it live. So then when they did the actual report, they said, we contacted Lee Camp and we couldn't agree on ground rules for the interview. That's how they phrased it, because they knew that if they said Lee Camp would only do it live, all their listeners would go, well, why won't you do that? Why won't you have him on live? But if you say he doesn't agree with the ground rules, it sounds like I wanted to somehow rig the interview or something like that. So that's what they'll do. They'll do something like that. This Bloomberg article obviously is going to, the only reason Bloomberg would ever write about me and Moment of Clarity and Redacted Tonight, et cetera, the only reason they would ever do an article like that is to push the McCarthyist, anti-Russia, look what Russia's doing, horseshit. I know that. I understand that's how this world works. That's how your mainstream media works. There is no way that this, whatever they're going to write, and, you know, it's possible they give up on the whole article because they don't get an interview with me or they don't get other things. But trust me, that if I'm calling this now, so I can say told you so if this comes out in a week or a month, whatever they write, whatever they mention about Moment of Clarity, Redacted Tonight, it'll be something about how Russia is trying to defeat Joe Biden. Despite the fact that I say Trump is garbage all the time. I'll quote Julian Assange. Choosing between Trump and Biden, although he was talking about Hillary, but choosing between Trump and Biden is like choosing between chlamydia and gonorrhea. But so they'll act like I only insult Joe Biden because that works with their thesis, that works with their lies, that works with their propaganda. This is all designed to manipulate the election. If Trump wins by just a sliver, they'll say Russia did it. If Biden wins by just a sliver, they'll say Trump and administration and the Republicans will say China did it. So this is all being set up in this way. And all of it is precipitated on the idea that you won't vote in such numbers that you beat that fucking sliver, that you beat what is acceptable propaganda. If it hadn't, let's for sake of argument, let's say Trump had beat Hillary by 10 percentage points all over the country. He won, he took the electoral map, and he won the popular vote by millions of votes, which he didn't. He lost the popular vote, right? If that had happened, then they could not have said, oh, Russia got Hillary to lose. It would be so overwhelming that it'd be impossible. Now, the same goes for any of these elections and down ballot stuff too. If it's an overwhelming win, they won't be able to push this garbage. And so anyway, I just want legit elections. I want your vote to count. And so here are the 3 steps, or maybe it's 4 steps. 1, check your registration. 2, vote for whoever the fuck you want to vote for. And that goes for all the fucking races. 3, remember that if you really want to change this world, if you really want things to change, if you really want a different reality, voting is a tiny, minuscule, borderline nothing step. It is not nothing, which is why you need to fucking vote, but it is so tiny. If you want large-scale change, it's going to take much more than that. It's going to take getting out on the streets. It's going to take pressuring people. It's going to take arguing about these things. It's going to take your mental energy and your time at various times. And obviously, some people have more time or effort or ability to give to these things than others. Some people got fucking 3 kids at home and they're slaving away at 3 jobs, and I understand that. But just know those 3 steps. Check your registration. Go vote, and then do a lot more than go vote. That's my recommendation, okay? I'm not, whatever they try and fucking put on me is I'm pushing for Joe Biden to lose or Trump to lose or Trump to win or Joe Biden to win or whatever the fuck. It's not true. It's all garbage. So, that's been your moment of clarity. I do these every goddamn weekday except sometimes. And they're all at leecamp.com. So anytime you miss one, please go to leecamp.com. Also, please share this. As you can imagine, I'm heavily suppressed. They do everything they can to make sure you do not see these videos. And thankfully, a lot of you still do. But it all comes down to you. It all comes down to whether you share them, whether you email them to people, and whether you hit subscribe, click the little bell icon. All right. Keep fighting out there. See you next time.